GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that's more satisfying than popping bubble wrap on a stressful afternoon. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we are joined by legendary crypto investor Lark Davis. In today's episode, we're talking all about ETH and why you should be paying close attention to ETH right now. We're going to cover Ethereum's price action, what you can expect in the coming weeks and months, December and heading into 2025. We're going to look at a comparison of ETH and Bitcoin and their price action in the previous cycle in order to see, is the pattern repeating itself? And then Lark is going to give us his ETH price predictions for the rest of this cycle. These are updated price predictions that he just came up with recently. Before we jump in, Milk Road is hiring right now. If you guys are obsessed with crypto and you want to work on one of the funnest teams in the space, check out the link in the show notes to apply to a few of our open roles. Also, we need to take a moment to hear from our sponsors who make this show possible. Meanwhile is the world's first licensed and regulated life insurance company built for the Bitcoin economy. They do everything in BTC. You pay in BTC, they pay claims to your family in BTC. You take out policy loans entirely in BTC when you need liquidity. Protect your family from life's uncertainty and a broken financial system. Build intergenerational Bitcoin wealth while the cost of living skyrockets in dollar terms. Plus, get all the tax and legal benefits of life insurance now in Bitcoin. Visit milkroad.com/meanwhile to join the waitlist and get early access to the world's first Bitcoin life insurance. Lark, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
It is a exciting time for Ethereum. I say that with a little bit of hesitation because we've all been waiting for ETH to finally go, and we're seeing it a little bit. We're certainly not seeing it as much as some of the other L1s that are absolutely flying right now, which we might touch on later in the show. But I think ETH is looking good and more exciting than people realize. And there's a tweet I want to pull up right now that I think demonstrates that pretty well. This is from Ryan Rasmussen over at Bitwise. He said, Ethereum added an entire Solana in market cap over the past 30 days. Lark, what's going on here?
Solana, of course, has been doing fantastic. XRP went up $150 billion in the last 4 weeks. It's been a pretty wild run for some of these big layer ones. But ETH is still the king daddy of layer 2 or of layer 1 smart contract platforms, right? So it's pretty hard to say that ETH is done and dusted. And I know the price action for a while was very lackluster. Obviously, we were all there. We were dogging on Ethereum. We're having a good time making jokes. But the reality of the matter is that ETH is still one of the most intensely awesome assets of the entire crypto space. To think that it was going to stay down forever was ridiculous. Of course, it was going to start moving at some point. We're seeing that happening. And because it is such a big asset, it moves a lot slower these days. You know, XRP was able to pump 500% because it was starting from $30 billion or whatever the market cap was at before the big pump started. For perspective, it was 1/10 of the market cap of Ethereum when it started moving, okay? So you have to keep in mind total market cap size of these assets. ETH's a beast, ETH's absolutely massive, and it is slowly grinding up for a very big move because all the fundamentals are still there. It's still a very strong asset for a wide variety of reasons, from the layer 2 scene, from the amount of staked ETH that's been staked up, the amount of ETH leaving exchanges, the just growing demand for Ethereum because of all the layer 2 stuff happening, right? The ETH ETFs, which are starting to actually see inflows. In fact, last week we had more inflows into ETH ETFs than Bitcoin ETFs. Now, we're not talking about gigantic numbers there. It was a very slow week for Bitcoin ETFs, which have had some record weeks in previous weeks before that. But still, Wall Street's starting to wake up to Ethereum ETF products, and they're starting to buy them. So everything's lining up right now for ETH price to keep moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's looking so good. You mentioned the ETF. I got the numbers up on the screen here. 332 million in net inflows on November 29th into the ETF. That is a number worth celebrating. We have not seen that much volume into the ETF at all in a day so far since it launched. very, very promising, and all net positive inflows for over a week into the ETF. And I think Grayscale is really, that's finally done and behind us. I think the Grayscale ETH trust, but yeah, things are looking really good. Let's. You mentioned, and I just want to bring this chart back up, that the Solana market cap, the ETH market cap has basically gotten Solana in the last 30 days. It is amazing. It's just the size of this token. I think it's hard to appreciate how much needs to happen in order for it to move. So we look at like a month ago, market cap for ETH was around 290 billion, market cap for Sol 75 billion. Fast forward to today, ETH has gone up to almost 440 billion. So it's gone up more than 100 billion, and Solana's gone up about 30 billion. It's wild to see these numbers. I mean, ETH is doing well. It's looking good, but we're just not quite seeing it in the price yet.
That's, for perspective, that's almost the entirety of the XRP move in terms of market cap gain, right? It's just that ETH is starting at such a higher market cap to begin with that it doesn't have the same excitement around it, right? We've seen ETH pump 40% or something like that in the last month. Very exciting, but these other assets are, of course, playing catch up. A lot of these things were much more beaten down. You know, the sentiment around stuff like XRP was like absolute gutter, and then of course price always improves sentiment, doesn't it? The one thing that'll always tell you how good the technology is. The price going up, but the technology is fantastic. Price down, worst tech ever. Terrible blockchain. Never going to do anything. Right? We heard all this about Ethereum just a few weeks ago. Now price is going up suddenly. Oh crap, this is the new paradigm of money, isn't it? This is the big blockchain. It was so obvious. Never change, crypto. Never change.
Never change. Okay, let's look at some technical analysis. And you put out a tweet the other day saying that ETH is currently on the cusp of what you believe is a breakout. Can you break down and explain what you're seeing here to us?
This is like the most watched triangle in crypto right now. This is something I've been talking about for a while. Now, that bottom line, the bottom orange line there, I think is incredibly important because this has been the uptrend support line that's been in place since mid-2022, okay, when we found the bottom for the price there. Ever since then, we have been on a nonstop uptrend where with massive volatility, ETH keeps putting in higher lows. The uptrend continues. When you see that line break at some point, that'll be bad news bears. But that's not happening right now. What's happening right now is that we are on the cusp of a major breakout. You see the top orange line on this chart. That is multi-year downtrend that's in play here. When that breaks, that signals a major change to the trend, right? So this is all the way back from the peak price of late 2021. We saw, of course, the earlier rally this year, and just this gigantic triangle forming up with explosive potential. Now, that's not to say we're going to break out of this tomorrow. We might consolidate under here. We might have a false breakout, stuff like that, okay? So this is pretty normal. We have a breakout of such a major pattern like this. However, it will break. It will break, and the upside targets for this are absolutely massive. You know, we're talking the first, of course, getting back to previous highs, obviously, taking out $4,800, but also then moving beyond that. So this is a massive, massive triangle right here, and this thing is going to break. And when this thing breaks, it's probably going to drag the rest of the altcoin market up massively along with it. So don't fade ETH, guys. I know it's not going to be the same kind of sexy gains that you're going to get out of your XRP, although XRP right now is probably due for a bit of consolidation, but I know there are other coins out there that are going to potentially make bigger gains, right? Your beta plays, yeah, Pepe, if when ETH goes to 10K, Pepe is probably going to do 10X, right? So there's other plays, but is there anything out there that's sort of in terms of risk adjusted, you know, especially for bigger players or people who don't want to take as much risk gambling on meme coins or some of the other Ethereum beta plays? I mean, my goodness, you can buy ETH and get probably 300% returns in the next 6 to 12 months if it hits the price targets that I think that it can.
And I want to touch on those price targets, but before we do, we'll come back to that. What could be the catalyst that would make ETH break out of this pattern that it's been in for a few years?
Gosh, there's a lot of things going on right now. Of course, just the general market sentiment obviously has shifted dramatically. We've seen a risk-on attitude come into crypto that hasn't been seen literally in years. Now we had some kind of like tiny little taste of it back in March, but it wasn't real. This is a completely different vibe right now. We've got a pro-crypto White House that's about to come in. That's going to be a game changer. In fact, there's rumors that the SEC head has been decided on by Trump, still to be officially announced, but people are saying who know things like, yeah, he's already decided this is going to be the guy, some pro-crypto guy. So everything kind of lines up. We've got M2 money supply expected to increase dramatically throughout 2025. We're in a bit of a dip right now on that, but that's going to bounce back up according to major analysts. So we're going to see that move into the end of 2025 with money flooding into the system, stablecoin supplies going up. Base has had the most inflows of all the blockchains in the last month. Okay, everyone's going there to ape their money into these new AI agents, which are particularly finding a good home on Base right now. So when you go to Base, guess what you need? You need Ethereum. You don't need a lot of Ethereum to use Base, but you need ETH. You need ETH, right? So everything lines up as a good picture for ETH. And of course, the big one is going to be the ETFs. Right? As we see, imagine the stink out there on social media when we have $1 billion inflow day for Ethereum ETFs. Because for an asset that's only worth $400 billion, $1 billion daily buy, if it happens a few times like it has for Bitcoin, that becomes a very, very big momentum impact, okay? Because already we're seeing the supply of ETH on exchanges dropping dramatically, 30 to 40%. I'm not sure what the current number is. Of ETH is staked in the staking contract, which of course is a 2-year exit queue if they want to get all that ETH out of there. So there's all these things that line up. If they've been there for a while, it just takes that spark. And it's like they're trying to start the engine. You ever try to start like an old lawnmower and you're there, you're pulling on the chain, you're pulling on why don't these damn things start? It's throw a bit of gas on it, pulling it again, and it's like eventually it starts and a bunch of smoke comes out. And it's like, yeah, let's go. That's ETH right now.
That's it.
When
Okay.
it's going, it's gonna go, man. It's gonna go.
Let's take a look at some charts from the past cycle because I want to look at Bitcoin and ETH in the past cycle to understand the comparisons to this cycle, where we're at, where we could be going, because it's always great. History doesn't repeat itself, but it usually rhymes. Let me pull up first Bitcoin from the past cycle. So I've got Bitcoin up on the screen here. We're looking at sort of at the point where it broke out in the last cycle was around November of 2020. What does that say to you, that date? Why is that important?
So the important thing to keep in mind here is that came about 6 months after the Bitcoin halving. So tends to happen around 6 months after we start getting a good move. The key thing here around the Bitcoin breakout and related to the Ethereum breakout is the timing between them. So we saw Bitcoin breakout first. Bitcoin always leads. Bitcoin leads the liquidity cycle, okay? Interest flows into Bitcoin first, money flows into Bitcoin first, Bitcoin moves first, and then Bitcoin money draws in attention first and foremost. People start talking about Bitcoin, then everybody wants to buy the next Bitcoin or other stuff that has more upside, just more broadly. Bitcoin whales start taking profits. They take their money from that run to Bitcoin and they dump it down into ETH and they double their money and then move it down again and double their money again. That's kind of the idea until you run out of stuff to do that with. So that Bitcoin move back in late 2020, a lot of great catalysts pushed that forward. But the key thing to note is that on the breakout of 20K, the definitive breakout, not the we barely touched it or came a few dollars over it and then a little correction. No, the actual breakout of 20K, which happened, I think, first week of December or something like that. Mm-hmm. Essentially, you saw Bitcoin run nonstop for about 4 to 6 weeks, something like that, before we had any even kind of breather finally come in. But here's the thing, Ethereum lagged. In fact, at the time that Bitcoin broke out, Ethereum was about 60% under the previous all-time high, and it needed to go about 140% up just to reach the previous all-time high, not even to talk about price discovery. So Ethereum was lagging significantly. And if you were around back then, the sentiment was also pretty bad. Oh, look at ETH. It's a failed asset. It was a one-trick pony. We had the ICOs and DeFi summer were just a bunch of Ponzi scam BS, and there's no real use case for ETH. Look, Bitcoin proves it. Bitcoin's going up. The market only wants Bitcoin. People only want Bitcoin. Everything else is a scam. Obviously, ETH's the biggest scam of all. It's never going to go up. Does this sound familiar? Because it's exactly the sentiment that's been happening over the last few weeks, okay? It's the exact sentiment that happened back then. ETH is just lagging behind, okay? Now, is ETH going to give you 100x return this cycle? No, obviously not, but neither is Bitcoin. But can ETH still put in some good gains between here and the end of the cycle? Absolutely. It's just lagging behind. And you can see that it's already starting to move. And when that triangle breaks, we're going to teleport up to previous highs, probably a lot quicker than people expect. XRP has just proven very, very clearly that you can have gargantuan moves from mega cap altcoins that seem to defy logic. And it's exactly what's just happened. Okay. So don't fade the potential for ETH to go from $3,800 to $4,800 in a week or two, because that's exactly what can happen. We can have that kind of crazy candle.
And basically what happened last time, and I think this is it, we all have such short-term memories. So, and a lot of people listening maybe weren't around last cycle 4 years ago, or maybe you were around, but maybe you weren't heavily invested and you weren't paying that close of attention. So, but even if you were around, even though I was around, I forget that this happened. Like, it is so easy to forget. But basically, ETH went from 600 to 4,000, 4,200. It went 7x in the matter of a 6 month period that happened right around now. Basically, like, so we're what, 3 weeks roughly? We're 3 or 4 weeks into Bitcoin price discovery, where we blasted above previous all-time highs. We're now in this new price discovery, and usually last time, what we were about 4 to 6 weeks in Bitcoin price discovery before ETH started to move. So, you know, what does that say to you? Like, when do you think this, how much longer do you think we see Bitcoin at this price ETH at this price before we go up and we don't come back to this price again until maybe a year from now, when if we get back to this in the next bear?
Jay, can I just say, it's only been a month since the US election. It feels like the last month has been like a year. There's been so much going on. It's been absolutely nuts. I just had that realization, like, it's only been a month. Holy crap. That's been a crazy month. Look, it's not going to be long. We're already seeing ETH starting to move. There's enough people already starting to talk about it on socials. They're like, oh, it's playing catch up now. Now it's starting to move. Now this big triangle's getting ready to break. All this stuff's happening. Wall Street's starting to pay attention. All the narrative's already there. They're just going to keep playing out. We're going to keep talking about it. I would suspect that if history has any sort of guidance for us, that by the end of the year, we'll see ETH potentially getting, unless something bad happens, right? World War III starts or some crap like that, obviously. But hey, but fun fact for you, US GDP Q4 growth, 3.2%. Where's the recession, baby? There's no recession. 3.2% growth. Let's go. ETH could get back to the previous high by the end of the year, and we can start price discovery January, February. So it's a great point to make that November 2020, ETH was $600. By April, it was $4,800. I suspect we can see it move in a similar fashion this time, where we get to previous highs potentially by the end of the month, especially if Bitcoin breaks 100K. It's going to be the catalyst that helps drive us up, followed by a move up to maybe $7,000, $8,000 by March or April, potentially even up as high as 10K. And that's not crazy. That's not a crazy move for ETH. That's what you need to understand. That's historically just diminishing returns coming in, because when we go from 2,800 to 10K, it's only 300% move versus the 700% move we had at a similar period in the market back in the previous cycle.
So break down for us, what is your bear, your base, and your bull price target for ETH in this cycle?
Sure. I would say the bearish take would be around $7,500, $8,000. That would assume that really just the market just could, it's wrong. Wall Street doesn't really care about ETH. They're all just waiting around for the XRP and Solana ETFs. They're going to go big on those. Yeah, ETH gets some bid, but nothing like the other coins are going to get. People don't really care that much. Yeah, some ETH whales bid it up, whatever, but it's not that big of a deal. 7,500, $8,000. Okay, base case 10 grand. I think $10,000. Now this is, by the way, these are the Fibonacci targets. The Fibonacci 1.618 lines around $7,500. The 2.618 is around $11,000, I think. And the what I think is probably a likely peak price for the Fibonacci targets, and what a number I've been saying for a long time, is around $15,000. Now that's pico price, right? You're there for a day or two before the end comes. You start going back down. Now, interesting fact for you: last market cycle, the 3.618 Fibonacci line was hit almost exactly to the dollar. Almost exactly. It came within like $2 or something of the 3.618 Fibonacci line. That's shockingly accurate. Will it play out this time? Who knows? It's just one indicator. It can't predict the future. It's not a crystal ball, but that is an interesting fact to note.
Yeah, certainly. All those cases sound pretty good to me. Somewhere in the 7,500 to the 15,000 range would be pretty nice for ETH. Now, I know you might be sitting there thinking, well, but I want 10x. And again, this comes back to all, it's a risk adjusted scenario. Not to say, ETH is a high risk asset in its own right, but it's certainly nowhere near the risk of a lot of these other coins. A lot of these other coins are flying right now. And when I say other coins, I mean, as you like to call them, dino coins, Lark, which is just a fantastic term to call them, dino coins. What is going on with XRP and these other dino coins right now?
Some of this stuff's been really surprising. Some of these, there's been some big partnerships like Hedera Hashcraft. They announced a partnership with FedNow. So it's Federal Reserve and the FedNow thing. So that's a big partnership. Cardano, they've got a lot of attention. They've been talking to the Stellar Lumens guys. Stellar Lumens, I don't even know, man. They've been talking to the Stellar Lumens guys, been talking to the XRP guys. They got some Bitcoin layer 2 stuff going on. So they're finding this narrative where people are going, oh, they're doing a lot of stuff. Now, the actual on-chain metrics for a lot of these things are still not super hot. Total value locks, not super hot. Total daily transactions have probably gone up a bit recently, but up until that happened has not been very hot. Still not a lot happening on a lot of this stuff, but regardless, the market's pricing in a future where these things become very, very exciting. The XRP guys, they're finally launching their RLUSD stablecoin, which is getting people very, very excited, right? And rightfully so. You've been waiting for an incredibly long time. There's been rumors going around. The SEC might even drop the case because they know they're going to lose it. The new administration is going to come in and probably just drop it anyway. So, let Gary get the win, right? Oh, we won. We basically won that case. We'll just drop it now, and we've proven our point. Some kind of saving face thing like that instead of getting slapped down in court again. So XRP, the guys over at Ripple Labs, they fought the good fight. They fought the SEC. They're basically won the case. It's not finished completely yet, but for all intents and purposes, it's over. The Ripple Labs guys won it. There is a rumor that tomorrow, the 4th, we could actually see the New York regulators approve the RLUSD stablecoin. Now, when that happens, that could be that, sell the news kind of moment for XRP short term, right? Long term XRP goes up to $6 to $10 the cycle, whatever. But the RLUSD stablecoin is something they've been waiting for a very long time. Okay. And because of the banking connections and all this stuff, maybe it finally does the thing that XRP has been promised to do for 10 years. They finally did it. Well, we shall see. We'll just see what kind of adoption the RLUSD stablecoin gets. Obviously, it'd be hilarious if all these years Tether's out there grinding, man, doing the good work, and Ripple just comes in like last minute, be like, and there's like hundreds of billions of dollars because we're going to work with Washington and other big banks and bring trillions of dollars on chain through RLUSD. That's the dream, of course, for XRP holders. Will it happen? Hard to say. Getting adoption is not easy, right? So it might take a little while, but it's a big moment for XRP, and you can understand why people have been excited about it, especially those long-term holders. And it's so funny. The normies all came back, right? They all downloaded their Coinbase apps a few weeks ago, right? We had that massive surge in Coinbase downloads. All the normies came back. They opened up their Coinbase apps again that they hadn't touched since they deleted them in 2022 out of disgust, but they still had their accounts. They open up their accounts. So what do I got in here? Some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some XRP, and some Cardano. I'm just going to bid all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened. You think that's it? That's all that happened. That's all that happened. Old retail came back and they just bought the same coins from last time. Nothing else has happened here. So we're doing a full episode on this in tomorrow's show, everybody listening. So if you want deeper around XRP and all these other dino coins, we got Kyle coming on the show to talk about that. But before we let you go, Lark, are you buying any of these tokens, or are you just sitting on your hands and watching and not touching them?
No, I'm not buying any of those coins. Stellar Lumens, XRP, Cardano, no shade on any of them. I just not my cup of tea, right? Cardano, they did great back in the day, made some good money on that. XRP was one of the first altcoins I ever bought. Don't hate XRP, it just doesn't really sing to me anymore, let's say. But hey, here's the thing. You don't have to own them, but you sure can trade them, guys. You sure can trade them, okay? There's been some incredible trading opportunities out there, so don't be afraid to do a little bit of trading around some of these assets when you see the momentum going, okay? So that's something to keep in mind, everybody.
Lark, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate your takes as always. And everybody listening in, I want to know how you guys are feeling about ETH. Are you bullish or bearish? And then I want to know, are you guys buying these other tokens? Maybe you guys are the ones buying XRP and Cardano and Hedera and Algorand and all these tokens that are just absolutely flying in the past month. Let us know if you guys are buying them and you want us to talk about them more, and tune into tomorrow's episode to hear Kyle talk about them as well. Thanks again for your time today, Lark.
Thank you.
Have a wicked awesome day, everybody. Thanks for listening in. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.